Hey everyone, welcome back to Blueprint Japan, the podcast where we explore what it really takes to build a life and a business in Japan as a foreign founder. My name is Osan and I am your host, and you guys are crazy. I have the statistics open. We already, so third episode in, by the way, I am a little bit late with this one. Third episode in, we already have 7 followers. We already have 30 downloads and streams, and I'm just super happy. Like, I don't know. It's amazing to me that without me having to announce the podcast somewhere, and my biggest, social media is linked, my only social media is LinkedIn. It's just nice to see that 30 people are listening. 7 out of those 30 people subscribed across three, by now, three platforms. So YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. I'm just super happy. Um, So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So today's episode will be a little bit different. We are going to be talking about buying a house in Japan. So really kind of like a superficial overview of the basics of, you know, how to get a mortgage, what requirements there are, and much more. And so that's part one. And part one is basically based on my article that I wrote for Paul from Tokyo Dev. I think that was last year. So I interviewed Emil Gorgis from realestate.jp, James Howell from Kanachu, and Takayama Masaru-san from Resort Innovation up in Karuizawa. And also my friend who just bought who back then had just bought a home. And so I've put kind of like a practical guide together that helps you navigate the whole journey. And that's part one. Part two will be the conversation that I have had with Emil Gorgis. So, Emil is a real estate agent, but also a licensed home loan advisor. He's the only one that I know that does that. He's a great person. He's an unbelievably invaluable friend to me. And so, yeah, without further ado, let's go. Okay, so when it comes to understanding the basics, you have to know that when you start house hunting, you will need to decide between new and used properties. And generally speaking, new homes offer, modern amenities and typically require less immediate maintenance. Whereas older homes, they often have more space and character, more freedom to, work on them, but at the same time, they may need some more repairs. And I'm not talking about Akias. That's like a whole episode for itself. So, more importantly, you have to ask yourself, why exactly is it that I want to buy a home? Right now in my life, do I really need it or is it something that I want? Right. And just to give you an example, for me, it's less about investing at this stage, but it's more about securing a future and a house here because depending on where you live, where you rent in Japan, if you know, okay, you want to get permanent residency, you want to live in Japan, you want to have a family here, and you want to secure a house as early as possible, that makes sense. You buy a house, and then with the mortgage that you get, you probably pay less mortgage back than you would pay rent. And for me, that's just nice. Also having a house here because I can go back and forth between Switzerland and Turkey and Japan, so I can kind of like have different options if needed. And so you start your process by determining what kind of mortgage you can secure. So you have to start with your eligibility. Japanese banks like SMBC, like MUFJ, they offer mortgages to foreigners, but terms can vary depending on your residency status, your income, your age. sometimes even your health, and even your spouse's status if you are married. That is, generally speaking, you can borrow 7 to 8 times your annual income, and this varies as well. And when I say annual income, that means your combined household income if you are married. And then that gets more complex. You can buy a joint purchase. You can just have the house on the one person's name. And so those type of things we will dive in more deeper once we talk with the real estate agents. So there will be hopefully more episodes about this. But again, this is just to give you an overview of what is possible. And so foreigners with and without visas can buy properties in Japan. If you don't have a visa, you have to buy in cash. If you do have a visa or a long term residency, you can secure a mortgage. And so the bank will check your employment and stability, your income and financial commitments, your age and your health sometimes. And also, very important for banks, if you have existing debt or mortgages. And so that means you have to consult with a real estate agent that can help you find the right banking partner. And that is so crucial because they will often have direct connections with the lenders. So they can introduce you to banks, to their partners, and it makes the whole process from, okay, so I'm interested in buying a house, to, oh wow, I'm actually going to buy this house, so much easier. And so that leads me to my next point, finding the right real estate agent. Your agent is your lifeline. And when I say this, I mean they will be the person, they will be the individual that will be there for you throughout the whole process. And so they won't only show you properties, they will manage everything from looking at the right area, looking at the right houses for you. They have to understand your needs. They have to have a really good awareness of who you are as a person, where you stand in life. So, in my personal opinion, if you go to an agent and you tell them, "Hey, I'm looking for this house. This is my budget." If he or she right away starts looking for properties without asking you more questions about who you are as a person, what your future goals are in life, whether you want to have kids or not, whether you want to get married or not, where your marriage stands perhaps, those are not really good agents. That's my opinion. And so that's the more human part of the agent. And the more administrative side is they will translate all the contracts, they will explain the processes, and they will act as your advocate. And so when you look for an agent, you have to look for someone bilingual or for a Japanese agent that is supported by an interpreter. So they should really understand your needs. They have to ask you questions. They have to provide neighborhood insights. They have to help with mortgage connections. And obviously, they should manage all documentation. And once that is clear, once you have a better picture of that, then you can start choosing the right property. So once your agent is in place, you can start the search. There are platforms like Sumo, that's SUUMO, or Attohomes, that's at home.co.jp. But your agent has also access to a platform called Reinze. So Reinze is basically Japan's internal real estate database. So they have all the accurate, they have all the um, up to date data of available properties. And so Platforms like Sumo and At Home, they are great to get like an overview and see what kind of, basically explore your taste. And then you can pick like 4 to 5, properties, and you can send those to your agent. And they then can access range and look for exactly what you're looking for and what they think will be suitable for your lifestyle and your personality. And so some key considerations you have to do are, you know, commute time and transportation access, proximity to schools and amenities, so hospitals, and also your lifestyle and investment potential. And so properties outside the city center often offer better value and community feel, so you can do more, you know, that's like more when you want to be part of a neighborhood or a community, or if you just want to have it a little bit more relaxed. Obviously, you can always go for city centers. Those properties will oftentimes be a little bit more expensive, but also the access, to the city, again, depending on what your goals are, how your day-to-day life is, that may make that may make more sense. And so, okay, now you have your house. You found one property out of all the 10 properties that the agent sends to you. You went to a viewing of all the properties, and then you go like, okay, so I like property B. And so before you can make the purchase, you will have to do a home inspection. And your agent can do that. How that usually works is your agent will work with a home inspection company. And so that the price also varies, for apartments, usually they go for like goman yen, so 50,000 yen. And for houses, depending on the size and other factors, the price can go up to 70, 80,000, usually 66,000 yen, so rokuman rokusen. And you can walk through the inspection if you speak Japanese, which helps identify potential concerns. You can take your agent with you. Again, this is why your agent is super important. They will be there with you and for you throughout the whole process. And so once the home inspection is done, you can actually initiate the purchase process. And so for new homes, there's you have to submit a property purchase application. And for used homes, you have to submit a declaration of intent to purchase. And this step again might involve a small deposit, or depending on the people that are lined up, there might be a lottery system for new constructions. But again, your agent, like that's the key person in the entire process. They will help you with everything. And once that is done, you then need to pay a down payment of about 10% of the purchase price, which is later deducted from the total price. And simultaneously, you will get a pre approval for your mortgage. How that works is Japanese banks typically follow a two-step process. So, step one is the pre approval. So, that will be a review, usually takes about a month to move negotiations forward. And then there's a formal approval, thorough evaluation with final documents. And so for the formal approval, you have to submit all the documents, including your salary and your household income and whatnot. And once pre-approved, usually, not always, but usually formal approval is often just like formality. And then the next step will be examining some legal disclosures. And there's a key document that is called Explanation of Important Matters. And that covers basically your, any property defects, um, neighbor complaints, management fees, like every single detail that you need to know about the property or the land that you're buying. And so once that is signed and everything is done, you have to finalize the sale. And at this stage, you're actually signing the purchase agreement. And then you're at the same time you are submitting that. And for that, you need your income, so your personal seal. You need your usually your Juminho, the old address, and also the new address. And then the you need to pay stamp tax, so stamp fee, and you need to um, submit the inspection report as well. And once that is done, we call it after the purchase. So usually you would have to pay property tax because that's now your asset. And that's around 1.4% of the assessed value annually. And then you have to pay for insurance, which is required for a lot of mortgages, and also for fire and natural disaster coverage. And obviously, regular maintenance. Usually people set like 1% of the property value aside. So, for example, for a 300 um, million house, that's going to be a budget of 3 million per year. And so, again, this is a very superficial walkthrough through the single steps. And this episode obviously is not sponsored, but Emil Gorgis, he is also a certified home loan advisor. So he knows like everything about financing homes. Never, generally with big investments, never sign anything that you don't fully understand, especially in Japan. And not because Japan is not safe. It's, in my opinion, one of the safest places you can be, especially dealing with Japanese entities and companies. But you still want to see what's in between the lines. You want to see what exactly am I paying for and what exactly am I understanding. So, it's not really just like a financial decision here. At this point, you're really building a base for your life here. So that was part one. Part two will be a clip where I was talking with Emil recently. So we held a LinkedIn Live together, and that was basically kind of like a Q&A about, understanding housing and buying and investing. And so have a listen. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in to Blueprint Japan. If this helped a little bit, share it with a friend, share it with your family. And if you are in the middle of buying a home or any kind of transition and you want to talk with me, you want to hop on a podcast, let me know. I would love to hear your story. And yeah, until next time, stay grounded, stay curious. Osan, let's go.